The gold nib of my limited edition Mont Blanc hovers over the signature line, the ink threatening to pool on the page like spilled oil. On the other end of my secure line, Sarah from Gilded Lily Weddings clears her throat, a dry, brittle sound that signals disaster before she even speaks a word. "I'm terribly sorry, Miss Cross," she begins, her voice trembling slightly. "But your family, specifically your mother, has instructed us to remove you from the guest list effective immediately." My gaze drifts away from the mahogany desk to the panoramic window of my corner office. 52 stories above the streets of Chicago, the city looks like a circuit board of gray steel and amber lights. My company, Cross Empire, owns 12 of the skyscrapers visible from this vantage point. Down below, thousands of people are rushing to catch trains, oblivious to the fact that I'm sitting here, suspended in a suffocating silence, holding a pen worth more than my father's car. "There must be a mistake," I say, my voice steady, betraying none of the cold shock spreading through my chest. "I personally contributed $85,000 to cover the venue and catering for Harper's wedding. That funding was contingent on my attendance." "Yes, well," Sarah pauses, the silence stretching thin. "I was informed by your parents that those funds were considered a generous familial gift with no strings attached." I look down at the document in front of me. It's a $12 million acquisition contract that will secure our dominance in the luxury hospitality sector across the Midwest. A deal that has taken me 6 months of ruthless negotiation to close. Yet, in this moment, this career-defining victory feels microscopic compared to the betrayal unfolding over a phone line. My money has already been spent. Your parents were quite insistent that you were aware of this change," Sarah adds, her voice dropping to a whisper. My grip on the Mont Blanc tightens until my knuckles turn white. A memory flashes bright and stinging. Thanksgiving dinner, 4 months ago. I had overheard Harper crying in the pantry about going over budget for her dream fairy tale. My mother was shushing her, saying, "We'll figure it out." I hadn't stepped in then. Instead, I'd wired the money the next morning, 85 grand sent with a simple note, "Make it perfect." I thought I was buying their happiness. I thought I was buying my place at the table. "Miss Cross?" Sarah asks tentatively. "Email me the itemized breakdown of how my contribution was allocated," I command, my tone shifting. The hurt daughter is gone. The CEO has entered the room. I want every invoice, every receipt, every floral arrangement and champagne bottle charged to my credit. And Sarah, I want it in the next 10 minutes. Of course, Miss Cross. I don't want to get in the middle of a family dispute, but this isn't a family dispute, Sarah, I interrupt, cutting the line between personal and professional. This is a business transaction that has gone sour. I hang up before she can respond. My hand is steady now. I press the intercom button on my console. "Chloe. Get me Elena in legal. And tell her to bring the scorched earth protocols. We aren't celebrating a merger today. We're going to war." The email from the wedding planner arrives in my inbox with the soft, innocuous ping of a notification that usually signals a lunch invite or a newsletter. But as I open the attachment, the content reads like an autopsy report of my own relationship with my family. Per the instruction of Robert and Susan Cross, we confirm the reallocation of the $85,000 gift to cover all primary vendor expenses. I press a hand to my chest, feeling the frantic rhythm of my heart against my silk blouse. They didn't just uninvite me, they repurposed me. I wasn't a sister or a daughter to them, I was an ATM with a pulse. I scroll down the itemized list, my eyes scanning the logos of the vendors involved. Catering by Savory Heights, floral design by Ethereal Blooms, photography by Lens and Light. My breath catches in my throat. I know these names. Not because I follow wedding trends, but because I sign their paychecks. 30 minutes later, Elena and David file into my conference room, their expressions carefully neutral, the way people look when they are trying not to stare at a car crash. I stand at the head of the glass table, the digital projection of the contracts glowing on the wall behind me like a war map. "The terms are ironclad, Vivian," Elena says, her voice sharp and precise as she taps her tablet. "Standard service agreements allow for cancellation within 21 days of the event. However, there is the matter of the deposits forfeited if we initiate the breach." David clears his throat, sliding a heavy leather folder across the polished surface. "Actually, there's a nuance here that we haven't discussed." He opens the folder, The acquisition of the lifestyle group was finalized 48 hours ago. That includes the venue, Obsidian Ridge, and its entire preferred vendor network. He points to the screen. Every single company servicing your sister's nuptials, the catering, the lighting, the photography, they are all subsidiaries of Cross Empire as of Tuesday. A cold, bitter laugh escapes my lips. It sounds foreign, jagged. The irony is almost poetic, I whisper. My parents decided to humiliate me at a party that is literally taking place on my property. Elena's eyes narrow behind her frames. If we move forward with this, Vivian, your family could attempt legal recourse. They could claim sabotage or even argue criminal interference with a contract, though they'd be suing the parent company you own. Against me? I ask, turning to look at the city skyline, the gray clouds mirroring the storm inside me. Let them try. Outline exactly what happens if we pull the plug. David taps a key, and a new spreadsheet floods the wall. Termination notices go out immediately. The venue becomes unavailable. The floral shipments are redirected. The catering staff is reassigned. Essentially, the wedding ceases to exist. And the timeline? The wedding is in 19 days, Elena confirms. If we withdraw services today, there is mathematically no time for them to secure replacements of this caliber. They will be left with an empty field and a Spotify playlist. I close my eyes. I think of Harper. I think of the scrapbook she kept when we were 12, filled with pictures of lace dresses and cliffside vows. I'm not just the bride's sister. I was supposed to be her maid of honor before I was replaced by a cousin I haven't seen in a decade. I am about to burn down the only thing she ever truly wanted. There is a PR risk, David warns softly. Tycoon Evic's sister from Dream Wedding isn't the headline we want during the merger. I turn back to them. I see my reflection in the glass, not the little girl who begged for attention, but the woman who built a kingdom out of their neglect. Draft the notices, I say, my voice dropping to a register that brooks no argument. Exercise every clause in the contracts. Withdraw services effective immediately. If they want a wedding, they can pay for it themselves. Elena and David exchange a look, then nod. They know better than to question me when I use that tone. As they leave to execute the order, I sink into my leather chair, wondering if the price of dignity is always this high. The silence in my office is short-lived. Within 10 minutes of the order going out, my personal cell phone begins a violent dance across the mahogany desk. Dad flashes on the screen. Then Mom. Then Harper. I watch the names appear and disappear like ghosts haunting a machine. I don't answer. I let the voicemail catch the overflow of their panic. Eventually, curiosity or perhaps a masochistic need to hear the consequences of my actions wins out. I press speaker on the 5th call from my father. Vivian. His voice crackles, distorted by a mixture of rage and poor reception. This has gone too far. The caterer just sent us termination notices. The florist is pulling the plug. They're saying you ordered this. If you don't reverse this sabotage immediately, I will seek legal recourse. Do you hear me? This is criminal interference with a private family matter. I stare at the phone, my expression impassive. He's threatening to sue me for enforcing contracts on companies I own. The absurdity would be funny if it didn't taste like ash in my mouth. A moment later, a voicemail from my mother pops up. Her voice is different, weepy, manipulative, the tone she uses when she wants to guilt me into submission. Vivian, honey, please. They're saying all the deposits forfeited. That's thousands of dollars. We can't afford to lose that money. Why are you doing this? We raised you to be better than this spiteful person. I cut the playback mid-sob. We raised you. The phrase hangs in the air, a lie dressed up as a memory. Chloe, my executive assistant, steps into the room, holding a stack of message slips as if they were fragile explosives. Miss Cross. I'm intercepting calls from the Tribune Society column. They're hearing rumors about a vendor exodus for the Cross-Pembroke wedding. Also, Mr. Henderson from the bank called to ask if your family is having liquidity issues. Tell them nothing, I murmur, turning my chair to face the window again. The fog is rolling in off Lake Michigan, obscuring the city below. Reschedule the investors. I need the evening. Of course. Chloe leaves, shutting the door softly. Alone in the darkening office, I open my laptop. The city lights blur into streaks of gold and red. I pull up a digital folder I haven't looked at in years, old home videos digitized for a project I never finished. I click on one from Harper's 16th birthday. There I am in the background, organizing the gift table, directing the caterers, making sure the music is right. My mother is on camera, laughing, telling my aunt, "Vivian loves the logistics, don't you, sweetie? She's our little worker bee." Worker bee. Not daughter. Not princess. Worker. My phone pings again, pulling me from the past. It's a notification from a cousin, tagging me in a comment on Harper's private Instagram account, one I don't follow, but my profile is public. I click the link. It's a photo of Harper and her fiancé, posted 3 weeks ago. The caption reads, "So grateful for parents who make dreams come true. Can't wait to celebrate with the people who actually matter. Number no drama, number real family only." My heart hammers against my ribs. I scroll down. There's a comment from my mother. "It's going to be perfect, darling. We'll just tell V she's too busy with her little empire to come. She'll just write a check like she always does. Easier for everyone." Dad's reply underneath, "Exactly. She ruins the mood anyway. Let her pay for it and stay in her glass tower." I freeze. The breath leaves my lungs. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't a misunderstanding about a guest list count. This was a premeditated extraction of my wealth while simultaneously erasing my presence. They accepted my $85,000 with a smile, knowing full well they were planning to cut me out the moment the check cleared. I open a blank document on my screen. My hands, usually so steady when signing million-dollar deals, are trembling. I begin to type. Not a letter. A timeline. Every text, every email, every receipt, every lie. I drag the screenshot of their Instagram conversation into the file. The sadness that had been weighing down my shoulders evaporates, replaced by a cold, crystalline clarity. They didn't just want a wedding without me. They wanted my money without the inconvenience of my existence. The worker bee is done working. The queen is about to sting. The next morning, the air in my office is heavy with the scent of ozone and impending rain. Chloe enters quietly, placing a double espresso on my desk. "Your 9 a.m. is here," she whispers, her eyes darting nervously toward the reception area. "But it's not the investors." Before she can finish, the double doors swing open with a violent thud. My father storms in, his face a mottled red that clashes with his golf polo. My mother follows, clutching her pearls like a shield, and trailing behind them is Harper, looking pale and furious. "You can't hide in here forever, Vivian." Dad bellows, his voice echoing off the glass walls. He marches toward my desk, ignoring the breathtaking view of the city behind me. "Do you have any idea what you've done? The vendors are gone. The venue is locked. You've ruined everything." I lean back in my leather chair, steepling my fingers. I don't stand up. I don't raise my voice. I simply protected my assets, Robert. Isn't that what you taught me? Always read the fine print. It's just a wedding invitation. Mom cries out, stepping forward. "Why are you being so dramatic? We thought you'd be too busy with your projects to attend anyway. We were trying to spare you the obligation." Projects. I taste the word. It's sour. I reach for the remote on my desk. "Let me show you my project." I press a button. The privacy glass of the conference wall instantly turns transparent, revealing a massive LED screen. The screenshot I took last night, the one of their Instagram comments, is blown up to 10 feet tall. "Mom, we'll just tell V she's too busy. She'll just write a check like she always does." "Dad. She ruins the mood anyway. Let her pay for it." The silence that descends on the room is absolute. The color drains from my mother's face. Dad's mouth opens and closes like a fish pulled from water. Harper stares at the screen, her eyes widening as she reads the words her parents wrote about her sister. "Did you think I wouldn't see it?" I ask, my voice soft but cutting. "Or did you just think I was too stupid to check?" "Vivian, Mom stammers, "We were just venting. It's out of context." "The context," I interrupt, standing up for the first time, "is that you asked for $85,000 for a guest list I wasn't on. You took my money and laughed about it." Harper sinks into one of the guest chairs, looking between the screen and our parents. "You said Vivian canceled because she had a board meeting," she whispers to Mom. "You said she didn't want to come. She doesn't." Dad barks, trying to regain control. "Look at her, Harper. Look at this place. She thinks she's better than us. She's sabotaging your happiness to prove a point." I'm not sabotaging anything, I say calmly. I'm holding you accountable. The side door opens and Elena walks in, flanked by David. They carry sleek black portfolios. Elena doesn't even look at my parents. She treats them like furniture. Miss Cross, Elena says, placing a document on my desk. The solution package you requested is ready. David steps forward, holding a tablet. He turns to Harper, not my parents. Miss Pembroke, he says gently, we have secured an alternative option. We have a catering team on standby, a floral contract ready to be signed, and a replacement venue available for your original date. He taps the screen, showing images of the manor at Greystone, a stunning historic estate with ivy-covered walls and a rose garden. It's beautiful. It's elegant. It's also 1/3 the size of Obsidian Ridge. This is available, I tell Harper, meeting her gaze. Fully funded, fully staffed, ready to go in 19 days. Dad looks at the photos, then at me, confusion warring with his anger. You have a team for this? You just snapped your fingers and found a new venue? I own the manor too, Dad, I say. I own the holding company that manages it. I didn't find it. I reallocated it. The realization hits him. He looks around the office, the staff, the technology, the scale of it all, and for the first time, he looks small. My team has prepared a solution that saves the wedding, I continue. But it comes with terms. My terms. I slide a folder across the desk toward Harper. The manor. 1-day rental. Basic package. And a mandatory guest list review. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Harper, even though she's sitting right there. I look down. I need to talk to you. Without them. I look up. Harper stands, wiping her eyes. Mom, Dad, she says, her voice trembling but firm. Wait in the car. Harper, don't be ridiculous, Mom starts. Now. Harper screams the word. The sound shocks everyone, including herself. My parents look at her, then at me, and finally retreat, shrinking under the glare of my team. As the door clicks shut, the room feels suddenly spacious. 48 hours later, the wind howls across the terrace of Obsidian Ridge, carrying the scent of pine and Pacific salt. I chose this location for the final briefing not out of cruelty but out of necessity. It is the crown jewel of my portfolio, a masterpiece of glass and dark stone clinging to the edge of a cliff commanding a view that usually costs 7 figures to rent. It is the perfect theater for the truth. Harper arrives precisely on time, her sedan winding up the long, private driveway. I watch her from the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Grand Lounge. As she steps out, clutching her coat against the wind, her expression shifts from apprehension to pure, unadulterated awe. She takes in the infinity pool that seems to drop straight into the ocean, the architectural defying gravity, the sheer scale of the wealth surrounding her. Vivian. She steps onto the terrace, her voice snatched away by the breeze. She looks at me, then at the building. This place. I saw it in magazines. I didn't know. Welcome to Obsidian Ridge, I say, gesturing to the seating area where a fire pit is already blazing. Please, sit. I don't waste time with pleasantries. The ocean crashing below provides a rhythmic, brutal soundtrack to what must be done. I open the leather portfolio on the glass table. This, I say, sliding the first document across, is the cancellation notice from the venue manager. It confirms that the reservation for your nuptials was terminated due to a conflict of interest. Harper picks up the paper, her hands trembling. And this, I continue, sliding a second document, is the bank transfer of $85,000. The money Mom and Dad told you was a family contribution. They said you didn't care, Harper whispers, tears welling in her eyes. They said you were too busy with your little meetings to even ask about the photography shot list or the menu tasting. They said you just threw money at us to make us go away. I own the venue. Harper. I own the photography studio. I own the catering company. I keep my voice steady, factual. Did you really think I wouldn't notice if I was uninvited from a wedding taking place inside my own building? The color drains from her face as the realization hits her like a physical blow. How much? How much of this industry do you control? Before I can answer, the heavy oak doors of the lounge bang open. My parents storm in, breathless and flushed. They must have followed Harper's car past the security gate. What do you think you're doing? My father demands, marching toward us, his voice booming against the glass walls. Isolating her. Filling her head with lies? I'm showing the bride the truth, I say, rising slowly. I pick up a remote control from the table. Since you've spent the last decade hiding it from her. This is ridiculous, Mom cries out. Dragging us all the way out here for a tantrum over a party. It's not about a party. I press the button. The massive privacy screen behind me descends, darkening the room. A projector hums to life, illuminating the wall with the Cross-Empire organizational chart. It is a complex web of 18 premier venues across 5 states, hospitality holdings, logistics networks, and revenue projections. My father stops dead in his tracks. His mouth opens, then closes. Vivian's just playing business, he stammers. Turning to Harper, trying to salvage the narrative he's built for 30 years. She got lucky with a few investments. 412 employees, I say, advancing the slide. 18 venues, 12 hotels. Annual revenue of $37 million. I turn to face him. This isn't luck, Dad. This is the little project you refuse to look at. Mom steps forward, her hand fluttering to her throat. Darling, we always knew you were doing well, but my little company is worth more than Dad's firm ever was at its peak, I say, letting the words land like stones in still water. The invitation wasn't the insult. The insult was spending my money while pretending I didn't matter. While pretending I was small so you could feel big. Harper stands up suddenly. She looks at the charts, then at the terrified expressions on our parents' faces. The dynamic in the room shifts tectonically. I need you both to leave, Harper says. Her voice is shaking, but there is a new edge to it. Harper, sweetie. Mom begins, reaching out. Now. Harper steps back, aligning herself physically with me. I need to speak to my sister. Alone. The silence that follows is thick with shock. My parents look at each other, stripped of their authority, dwarfed by the empire I built and the daughter they underestimated. They turn and exit, looking older and smaller than I have ever seen them. The next morning, the atmosphere in my executive boardroom is cold enough to preserve tissue samples. Elena sits to my right, her fingers resting lightly on a stack of files. Across the black marble table, my father adjusts his tie for the 10th time, checking his vintage Omega watch, a nervous tick I haven't seen since the IRS audited him in '98. My mother sits beside him, her spine rigid, her smile as brittle and artificial as the floral arrangement in the lobby. We've drafted a reasonable compromise. My father starts, sliding a single sheet of paper across the marble. You reinstate the original plan at Obsidian Ridge, and we will ensure a formal apology is issued to the family chat. I don't even look at the paper. Through the panoramic windows, the Chicago fog is lifting, revealing the sharp edges of the skyscrapers I now count among my peers. They still see the teenager who needed a cosigner for her first apartment. I see the landscape I conquered. A negotiation requires 2 parties with leverage. Robert, I say, my voice devoid of inflection. You have none. You spent $85,000 of my money while erasing me from the event. That isn't a misunderstanding. It's theft. My mother leans forward, the scent of her expensive gardenia perfume suddenly suffocating. Think about the optics, Vivian. The family reputation is apparently worth exactly 85 grand. I finish for her. Plus interest. My father's jaw tightens. You've made your point with this little business demonstration. But let's be realistic. You can't expect us to bow down to your hobby. Hobby. The word hangs in the air between us. I press the intercom. Chloe, bring the portfolio. Chloe enters moments later, placing a heavy, leather-bound book in front of me. It's embossed with the Cross-Empire crest. I open it to the first page, the audited financial statements. Cross-Empire grossed $92 million last fiscal year, I say, turning the book so they can read the black and white truth. That is roughly 8 times the revenue your firm generated in its best decade, Dad. His eyes widen. Disbelief wars with dawning horror. I flip the page. A profile in Forbes. I kept my last name out of the press, I explain softly. Not to hide from you, but to protect you. I didn't want you to be known merely as Vivian Cross's parents. Another page. Property deeds. Another. The organizational chart. With each turn of the heavy paper, their arrogance fractures. I don't need your permission to rule my kingdom, I say, closing the book with a heavy thud. I need your respect to sit at my table. The double doors open. Harper walks in, her eyes red-rimmed but clear. David stands beside her, a silent sentinel. He gives me a barely perceptible nod. He's shown her everything. The true numbers. The timeline of disrespect. My terms are non-negotiable, I announce. The manor at Greystone, 80 guests maximum, $190,000, paid up front. That's extortion. Father sputters. That's the market rate, I correct him. Actually, it includes a 20% family discount. Harper moves past them and stands next to my chair. The shift in alliance is subtle but seismic. I'd like a tour, she says quietly. Of the real business. 30 minutes later, we are walking through the grand ballroom of the flagship hotel attached to my headquarters. Crystal chandeliers, the size of small cars, refract the light. Staff members stop and bow their heads slightly as we pass. Miss Cross, the Dubai team needs approval on the lighting grid. Miss Cross, the merger contracts are ready for your final signature. Miss Cross, your helicopter is on standby for the site visit. With every interaction, my father shrinks. The little girl narrative is dissolving under the weight of undeniable reality. My mother wanders over to a display case holding my Entrepreneur of the Year awards, her fingers hovering over the glass as if afraid to touch the success she ignored. We end the tour in my private office. My mother spots the only personal item in the room, immediately a framed photo from Harper's graduation. All four of us, smiling. My arm is around Harper. You kept this? Mom asks. Her voice small. Some things matter more than ROI, I answer. Harper steps forward, taking my hands. Her grip is strong. I want you to be my maid of honor, she says. Not just a guest. Not just a sponsor. I want my sister. The request hits me harder than the betrayal did. I feel a crack in my armor. I'd be honored, I say, my voice thick. But only if you want me there because I'm Vivian, not because I'm the checkbook. I always did, she whispers. I didn't know. I was blind. My father is standing by the window, looking out at the empire he dismissed. He turns, and for the first time in my life, I see deference in his eyes. We saw what we wanted to see, he admits, his voice rough. We missed the masterpiece because we were too busy criticizing the frame. In the outer office, my mother sits down and writes the check for the manor. Her hand trembles, but she doesn't argue. She doesn't negotiate. The power dynamic has permanently inverted. Not because I demanded it, but because I finally forced them to look. Harper hugs me, burying her face in my shoulder. Over her head, I catch David's eye. Make it perfect, I mouth to him. Because that's what we do. We build perfection out of chaos, even when the chaos is our own blood. On the morning of the wedding, the sun streams through the glass atrium of the manor at Greystone, turning the limestone floors into a river of light. I stand on the mezzanine, directing my team with subtle nods and hand signals they have learned to read like a second language. White peonies cascade from the vaulted ceiling, transforming the space into a botanical cathedral. This venue, one of the oldest in my portfolio, has never looked more immaculate. Miss Cross, the vintage champagne delivery is here, my events director whispers, tablet in hand. Thank you, Colin. Have them use the service entrance and begin immediate chilling. 38 degrees, no colder. My voice carries the quiet authority of someone who knows that perfection is just a series of small details managed correctly. I catch sight of my parents entering the grand foyer. Their posture has changed. Gone is the entitled strut of the parents who demanded a check. In its place is a tentative, almost deferential walk. They look like visitors in a museum, afraid to touch the art. My father spots me and nods a respectful dip of the chin instead of the dismissive pat on the shoulder I'd endured for decades. Vivian. Mom approaches, her eyes scanning the room with a mixture of pride and lingering regret. Everything looks absolutely stunning. Thank you, Mom. I gesture toward the group of professionals standing like sentinels near the archway. Let me introduce you to my executive team. You've met Elena, my chief legal counsel. This is David, director of operations. And Colin runs our entire Pacific Northwest division. Mom's eyes widen slightly as each person greets her with a polite Mrs. Cross, their tone professional but their loyalty clearly anchored to me. She realizes, perhaps for the first time, that these aren't just employees. They are the family I chose when mine wasn't looking. Later, Crystal flutes reflect prismatic light across the white linen tables as I rise to deliver my maid of honor toast. The room goes silent. The same family members who once talked over me at Thanksgiving dinners now lean forward, captivated. To Harper and James, I begin, my voice steady, amplified by the high-quality sound system my engineers installed. Family is the most complicated contract we ever sign. Legacy is even harder to negotiate. I pause, meeting my father's gaze across the room. You don't build empires out of spite. You build them with vision. And then, you decide who has earned the right to share the view. Applause ripples through the room, warm and genuine. Harper stands, tears streaming down her face, and moves to embrace me, the microphone still in her hand. Not just my sister, she says, her voice thick with emotion. But my inspiration. Her words hang in the air, the vindication I had stopped believing would ever come. After the speeches, Elena and David find me on the terrace overlooking the gardens. The sunset is painting the sky in copper and violet, a perfect backdrop for what feels like a personal victory. To flawless execution, David says, raising his glass. And to bulletproof contracts, Elena adds with a wicked wink. I touch my glass to theirs. You two are more family to me than they've been in years. The admission comes easily now. Without the sting it once carried. To boundaries that build bridges, not walls. Months later, Sunday dinner unfolds in my penthouse. The floor-to-ceiling windows frame the Chicago skyline, the steel and glass testament to my work. My father leans forward at the dining table I selected. What do you think about the market shifts in the Southwest? He asks, his tone genuinely curious, pen poised over a notepad. With your business model, Arizona looks like it has untapped potential. From the living room, I hear my mother's voice on the phone. My daughter, the CEO, she tells her friend, proudly displaying a magazine feature I know she has memorized. My phone buzzes with a text from Harper. The wedding photos have gone viral, each venue tag driving traffic to my company's booking site. A second message follows. You didn't just fund this wedding, V, you held it together. I see that now. As I welcome my family into my home on my terms, eating my food, respecting my rules, I wonder about the nature of reconciliation. Does it come from true forgiveness? Or does it come from finally being seen for who you really are? Is it enough that they respect my success now, or should family bonds be unconditional from the start, regardless of net worth? What would you do? Would you embrace this new, respectful relationship, or would you maintain the protective boundaries of your tower?